3, 2.
Jamie Fouché, and welcome to Exploring Hobbies. And today we are going to talk about the hobby of treasure hunting. And I have Mark Branton and Dave Picard here with me. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm really interested to hear about all of this really cool stuff that we have here. Why don't we start out with just talking about how you got started in treasure hunting?
Mark, go ahead.
I got started out at, I went to the Livonia Mall when that was in existence, and the club that I belonged to, Michigan Treasure Hunters, had a show and tell at the Livonia Mall.
Okay.
And I was a coin collector already, and that's how I got involved. I was just, I was overwhelmed when I saw everybody and everything that they were getting and everything, so I says, you know, this might be for me. And from there on, I joined, and there was a sabbatical I had to take because of having children and whatnot. I couldn't get out anymore. So I rejoined the club in 2003, and there hasn't been any looking back since, and that's how I started, back in 1975.
Okay, so it was kind of a by chance thing. You were there, and they were there, and
Right.
you got hooked.
Yep, and beforehand, I never knew that there was a club that, you know, an organized club that would go out treasure hunting. So,
How about you, Dave? How'd you get started?
Well, actually, my father built back in, I believe it was the late 50s, it was a Heath kit, and it was a detector, metal detector. And they were pretty rough. They were pretty primitive back then. And he got me interested in that. And I also collected coins from an early age on. So the transition to metal detecting was fairly easy, and I've been doing this as a passion probably for about 15 years now, and I love every minute of it.
That's great. So are you in the same club together? Is that how you met, or did you meet outside the club?
Well, actually, Mark is the president of the Michigan Treasure Hunters and my friend.
Okay.
And I'm the vice president.
Excellent.
Right.
And we have about 150 members. And we meet once a month for 11 months out of the year. And it's a great club.
And so what kind of activities does the club do? If someone was interested in checking that out, what would they expect?
Go ahead, Mark.
in regards to,
You know, so are there shows that you go to together? You know, what happens at your meetings? Right?
Okay, yeah, we have what we call an autumn weekend hunt. That is, Dave, what is it? We
Well, it's once a year, usually at the end of September. We as many members that want to for an overnight. We meet some at an undisclosed location. It's a hidden location so that no one can go there ahead of time.
All right.
And we detect, and we just get together and socialize and play cards and do things that we enjoy doing. And this year we were up north of West Branch, but for the last 10 years it's been all over. We've even gone out of state in Indiana. And that's one of the events. We have many events during the course of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, and I might add that we have what we call a Can-Am. We've got a sister club in, is it Windsor, Dave?
Windsor and Chatham.
And Chatham, and we bring them. We're hosting 2 years from now, but next year the Can-Am Club, the Canadian Club, will be hosting the event, and we get together and we go on their soil and we raise money for this hunt. It's a seeded hunt.
Okay.
And when I say seeded, all the monies that we get for through the sale of our raffles and whatnot, all that money goes back into the ground for the members. You know, when we buy coins and everything, and we seed the hunts. We have what we call token hunts too.
Got it.
Where we bury a token, and the finder of the token gets a silver dollar.
Like a prize. Okay.
Yes, and we for a nominal fee of $3, they get to hunt, and they also we have a base pay of $5 of silver coins that we bury in the ground, and whatever money we accrue from the previous hunt, we also buy silver with that, and that's on a monthly basis. We have what we call natural hunts too. We just had one in Grass Lake.
Okay.
And it was from an old prisoner of war camp that had the German soldiers held during World War II. And it was a prison out there in the Grass Lake area. And we didn't find much, but we did find some substantial finds, some older finds. And
Yeah.
it was worthwhile going out there to see the hunt, take it the hunt on.
So is a natural hunt something where you meet at a location where you anticipate there's the likelihood of having a lot of, like you said, it was a prison or someplace where chances are people over the years have dropped things, left things, that
Correct.
sort of thing?
Correct, unlike a seated hunt where we
Okay.
bury the coins ourselves,
Got
but
it.
I mean, we're in hopes that we're gonna find something that's
Okay.
got historical value, and whatnot.
Are there different types of treasure hunting?
Well, of course, Dave.
Well,
Dave's one of
treasure hunting in our club means different things to different people.
Okay.
At our monthly meetings, we have 4 different categories of things that you might find. One being coin, one being relic, one being token, and one being jewelry. And we give 9 months out of the year, we'll have a find of the month. But we have some people specialize in Civil War items. Some people do just what they call land detecting. Some people prefer to do water detecting. I prefer to do water detecting. As you get older, it's easier on your joints. You can move around more freely. And you have to remember, when you're using a metal detector, you detect everything that's metal.
Yeah.
So you're going to pick up a lot of trash. And our motto for our club is we leave it cleaner.
That's great.
But a good bunch of what we take out of there, it's not all
Old
treasure,
cans,
but
things that are not,
there's a
you
lot
know.
of tabs from the cans,
Yeah.
and but we help the environment a little bit that way. But
Okay.
you get a lot of targets, and some of the targets are something that you might take home with you, and some of them you might throw in the trash can on the way out.
I'm sure some of those are at least good for a good chuckle sometimes, right? Look what I found. When you mention so water hunting, do you mean like diving where you're submersed, or
We have different categories. We have some
Okay.
people that do scuba, which is self-contained underwater breathing. We have people that do water detecting, but it would be up to like chest high,
Okay.
up to your neck. And some people wade in the shallows. And then we do land detecting. Most of ours are based with detectors. So that's the premise behind. But we do have on our find of the month, if you were to just come across it, we have a spot on there that you could check off that you found it without a detector. And that happens periodically.
okay,
You might just come across something.
Yeah, and I might
Yeah.
add furthermore, the detectors are made for land and for water.
Okay.
I mean, not all. There's water detectors and then there's land detectors. I couldn't go into water with my detectors except for to put the coil in there. Otherwise
Okay.
they're not
you'd
waterproof.
damage it.
in
They
other
are not
words.
waterproof.
Yeah, right.
Besides detectors, which metal detectors is what you're referring to, right? Is there other equipment that you use regularly when you're treasure hunting?
Well, like knee pads. In order to be involved in any of our hunts, you've got to have an apron. It's
Okay.
a must to pick up the trash on the hunt field, and we put them in our aprons. We use trowels, or in some cases, people actually use would you call them foxhole shovels, Dave?
Little hand
Okay.
shovels, or
'Cause you're
we try to,
digging, yeah.
whatever hole you make, you should cover it up
Right.
as fully as you can and try to return it to normal.
Yeah.
And then we've got what we call probers. Probers are little like awls. That's a lost art pretty much, but people use those, and we've got the Garrett's pinpointers. I'm just throwing Garrett's out there as a company, but
Okay.
after you've dug your hole, sometimes it expands the target. It makes it sound a lot bigger. So in order to make it smaller, you want to put your pinpointer in the hole to get an exact verification where that target is in the hole. And these
okay.
pinpointers do that, so. but they're about $150, $200. Am I right, Dave?
All
They're
right.
expensive, but it's it's something. It's a tool that
Yeah.
you can use to
Yeah.
help your hobby.
What do the metal detectors run?
They vary.
Okay.
I've got one on the floor over there, $300, and then can I just show this for a moment?
Sure.
This one right here, this is a Mind Lab. This is probably the Cadillac of detectors. The company. This is about a $1,200-$1,300 unit.
Okay.
And it's got a pinpointer, all self-contained. This is a company called Sunray. They're out of business, but you had to add this on, and I'll be putting that in the hole to find where the target is. And it's got a digital readout right there.
I see.
So, but these things, they run on lithium batteries for about 30 hours if you get a battery pack in them. So, like I said, about $1,200. But one of the fellows that sells the equipment for this company, he was using a detector at our Grass Lake hunt, and we're talking $3,700.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, now the one on the floor over there, you can't see it. It's out of the camera range. That's about $300, and that's when that's my preference.
Okay. So there's a range. So there's kind of
Yes.
some more entry level ones where if you're just getting started in it, you don't have to invest a few $1,000s just to
Not
get
necessarily,
started.
no.
But as you want more precision and are doing more, there's
True.
better equipment. Okay, interesting. So what type of things do you find? I see a big variety on the table. What do you find treasure hunting besides the pop can tabs?
Well, I brought this in to show, and I'm not highly religious, but by having these different metals, I mean, I guess I could just put them into a box, but I thought that I would display them, and there are definitely a lot of metals here, and that's one of the things that I collect. I also collect rings, and I brought these in to show you. This is over the course of 15 years.
Okay.
So there's a number of rings here, but you have to remember for every nice thing that you find or an item that you can collect, there's probably 10 items that you threw away
That aren't worth
yeah,
doing anything with,
that you
huh?
picked up, but and then Mark has a lot of
Yeah, and,
items also.
right, and not to be redundant, you know, because I could have brought some rings in too, but this is a doughboy from World War I, and I had found that in Detroit in a driveway, and that's cast iron. Now we're not environmentally safe right now, but these are cast lead soldiers, if made from a mold, and you know, I mean, it's stuff like this, and these Tootsie toys. You know, now some of the old timers might remember the Kaiser car, and I leave them in the same state that I find them in, rather than get them repaired. You know, I mean, because it does a lot of I don't know. It says a lot about the hobby, rather than having one restored and made it look brand new. But this right here, this is before the Lionel trains. This is called an American Flyer. This is a piece from a 1913 train, and I mean it ran on the tracks and everything like that. But I mean, this is all that was salvageable
That's
at the
what was
time.
left
But
of it.
it's stuff like that, you know, and they have got me a find of the month, you know.
But what's nice, one of the nice things about like the internet now, is if you do find something, for me, a good bunch of the fun is researching it.
What is it?
When you find
Right,
this,
yeah.
you know, you don't initially recognize what it is, but then you can look it up on the internet and you can pinpoint like a time frame that it was made, who made it, you know, and you know, how did it get to where it is right now, you know, if it was made in another country or whatever, and now it shows up in a landfill in the United States, you know, so how did that happen?
that is-
Yeah.
But it just makes it interesting.
What are some of the more interesting or unusual things that you have found on a treasure hunt?
Wow.
Well, you know, can I say this? One of our members, she's deceased now, but we used to have our club hunt out in Walden Woods, and she found a hand grenade with the pin still in it.
Wow.
Yes.
In
Walden Woods off of US 23.
Wow.
You know, between Flint and
yeah. So not like someplace known as a former military location.
No, they
or...
found it on the beach, as a matter of fact, and they had to take it to Selfridge Air Force Base to detonate it. But they, you know, we're going back to probably 1970, between 75 and 80, somewhere in there. You know, I mean,
Interesting.
you know, yes, it was at the time, and you know, I mean, you've heard other stories. I heard they found part of the bone anatomy of a human, and it was they found one of the joints wired. That's the only way they picked it up. You know, was because of the wires in the elbow there. You know. But I mean, other than that, I really haven't heard. You know, me and Dave were discussing about the cannonballs that they find from the Civil War. Some people still pick them up, and they still have to be diffused. And there's a man in Mansfield, Ohio, that takes care of that. And one person put one on his mantle somewhere. I don't know if it was Ohio or whatever, but it was somewhere down south. And the mantle fell apart, and the cannonball came off and blew his house up.
Oh, no.
Yes, yeah, you know. But,
Okay. So sometimes you have to
Yeah.
take some precautions
Right,
with the things
yes.
that you find. What do you do with some of the treasures that you find? You know, I can tell you keep some of it because you're sharing it here with us.
Well, we also, like if we have a large group that return graduation rings. If they can, they'll research it and find the school and identify the individual by their initials, because that's normally what's just in there. And sometimes it takes a year or two, but they will get it back to the rightful owner. And I think that's a nice thing.
I think that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and part of that treasure hunting then becomes not just the item, but in the tracking down that person.
And it was such in the case right here where I had found this fella in the state of Washington.
Yeah.
And he went to Churchill High School in Livonia. And after, I think it was 25 years that I found him, you know, and I found him from classmates.com, you know, and so he gave me a $25 check, and I didn't really want no money. It's like a crossword puzzle.
Yeah.
When you get to the end, you feel like you've got the answers, you know.
The reward was
The
in
reward
solving
was-
it,
yes,
right?
yes.
And what was his reaction when you contacted
Well,
him
he
and
told
said,
me-
"I have your ring"?
Well, his mom had made the purchase for him.
Yeah.
And he knew he had lost it.
Okay.
He just didn't know where.
He didn't fess up,
And
probably, right?
Yes, and his mom, he accused his mom of taking it away from him.
no.
So after 25 years, he was happy to get it back. And I've returned a couple of them myself.
So you've mentioned, you know, sometimes you'll do research into things. So are there practices around, you know, like do you find museum quality things where sometimes you donate them someplace because they have a lot of historical value? You know, how does that work? How do you know like what's something that's worth keeping versus not?
Well, we had our club has gone to Pennsylvania and Maryland, and they have contributed some of their finds to some of the museums over there. And we also this autumn weekend when we went up there, they were trying to establish a museum in the area that we were, and so they asked that any relics that we would find, we would please turn them in. And you do find if it's been in the ground for 100 years, chances are it's probably not in that great a shape. But if it is and it's salvageable, you know, they certainly are welcome to it. We
Yeah.
try to help as many people out as we can, and it just makes for a better reputation for our club.
Sure.
Right.
How do you determine a good hunting spot? What makes a good hunting spot?
Well, there's a number of ways that you can do it. You can look, for me, going to a location where there are a lot of targets, whether they're good targets or bad targets, they're still targets where you're going to pick up metal that's in the ground. And then, of course, the percentage of those would be something good. So you know, if you're just starting out, you might want to start out at the schools or areas where there's a lot of traffic.
Okay.
People frequent, like maybe carnival sites or whatever, and that way you'll have the opportunity to use your detector a lot, be able to pick up a lot of targets, whether they be trash or whatever, and then you can move on from there. You can make your decisions. You know, we do a fair amount of research, historical research for ghost towns, locations that are no longer inhabited. by, you know, but was a presence there, which makes it, you know, the possibility of us locating something good, the possibility is greater.
Yeah. Can you do like treasure hunting vacations? I mean, are there ways to, you know, when you're out, do you do that, right? When you're out traveling around, kind of trying to work in a little, hey, I think there's a good spot to go check this out.
Talk to my wife. When we go on vacation, the detector's not allowed in the car.
I
half the time.
see. I see.
But no, there you can plan your vacations around detecting, and it's such that, you know, I know a lot of our club members have done that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So it sounds like, from what you've both expressed, the fun is more in just in the search and in the find. But is there money to be made if you're interested in making money this way?
Not enough. To
Not
live
really.
on.
Right.
You know, treasures are in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
So these might be something that I collect, but they're probably not worth a whole lot.
Well, Hollywood likes to glamorize, like if you think of things like the national treasure movies, right, where there's all these clues and they find the huge stores of hidden gold from, you know, that were buried and that no one's known about and all that kind of thing. But it doesn't sound like that's what most of you stumble on.
Well, we have had members that have found fairly valuable items, but for the most part, that's not the case. And most of our members probably don't sell their items; they retain them. Mm-hmm. Because when you look at them, you say, well, you know, I found that, and you remember a certain area, and you remember a certain time, and it was a good time, and they're good memories.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's what it's all about. If you have a passion for the hobby, it doesn't always have to be about money. Well, I'm sure, you know, some people do melt their gold down or their silver down, and you know, that brings them some money. But if that's the sole reason that you're in it, you might want to think about it.
Find a different income source, huh?
Yeah.
And I personally don't retain my jewelry. You know, a lot of times I sell it just so I can, you know, because I collect coins, and the rings don't really mean nothing to me but money, you know. And I in turn just go out and buy new coins with them, you know, whatever, you know.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I see you brought some magazines with you. So besides, and if you want to share a little bit about what those are, but then maybe also what other resources do you have to help you with your hobby, to help you not only, you know, maybe connect with other people who are doing treasure hunting, but also to do your research, that sort of thing?
We have our website, MichiganTreasureHunters.com. We also have our sister website, GreatLakesDetecting.com. And then there's the social media of YouTube. There's also Facebook. There's a lot of clubs on Facebook, a lot of detectorists out there on Facebook. And I can't tell you the amount of people that have clubs that are out there on the internet as well, you know. But I mean, as far as social media, this is one of the best magazines that's out there, Western and Eastern Treasure Hunters. And there's also Lost Treasure, which is another publication that you can get. Aside from that, that's about it, you know.
We also, our club puts out a monthly newsletter, and we've got an editor and a co-editor right now, and they are absolutely fantastic individuals. And husband and wife, and the Borders, Greg and Kathy Borders, and they do a 5-page newsletter which keeps all of our club members up to date on what's going on relative to our club and future events and past events and who won this and that. And it's that's for a local club, that's a fantastic item, and we're very, very proud of that. So
excellent. If someone wants to get started as treasure hunt, you know, in treasure hunting, where do you recommend they start? Well,
we're going to leave some of our business cards with you for if they're locally, the people local. We meet once a month at Faith Lutheran Church at the fourth Tuesday of every month except December.
In Livonia.
And we have our open house in April, that's generally when people bring in their finds and present different aspects of treasure hunting, and we encourage people to come. And you're welcome to visit anytime during our meeting. If you want to come as our guest, we have provisions for that. You can just show up and sign our guest book and be on your way.
Okay.
And see how other people are handling it, and see if it's for you. But most people that do come to the meetings, they sign up because they see it's a great club, absolutely great club.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and if they're not local to this area, it sounds like they could probably just do a search on the internet and find
Certainly.
a local club, and that's a good way to get started and find more about it.
We have people coming from Algonac, was it Carroll, Michigan.
Okay.
So they do come from quite a ways, Howell, Brighton area.
And North Carolina.
Yeah, we
still
have
got
one member from North Carolina.
Okay.
She doesn't come on a regular
No?
basis,
no, but she does still come.
but she's been a member for a
Yeah,
long time.
Okay.
And we have people that live out of state that are still members. So it's they just like it that much.
Digital age, it's pretty easy to build your network. You don't have to all live locally to stay connected these days,
That's
right?
No,
Well,
that's true.
there is one other club that I'm aware of in Plainwell, Michigan. And Ohio has some clubs that I'm aware of, Silver Seekers down there. But ours, for being local, it's local to Livonia.
Okay.
It's a good club.
Yes, and
it has a lot to
Excellent.
offer.
And we are one of the biggest clubs in the area. At 150, Dave said 150 members. How about 150 families? That's what we're all about. And we try to
Yeah.
maintain that as well. That's why we have our open house, and that's why we have productions like this. We try to promote new membership, keep the ball rolling.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. So is this an activity that a lot of families will do together?
In some cases,
Okay.
yes. And
If you sign up as a member, your entire family becomes a member. So
right.
for our token hunts or any of our activities, your entire family is welcome to come.
Okay.
And if it means that you may be putting 2 or 3 detectors into a hunt, because you or your spouse and your kids, then they're more than welcome. And it's an activity that a family can do together. And
Yeah.
there are other activities, but this is a good one.
And I might add that our dues are at $25 a month.
20 a year.
Or I'm sorry, $25 a year. Thank you, Dave. And you know what?
He's bumping your
Right.
fees there. Hey.
We can always use some extra money. But anyways, to make a long story short, we do give back 100% of that $25. Over and above, we are one of the clubs that really give our membership
Okay.
back their $25 worth.
Excellent. So, tell us again the name of your club and the best way for people to reach you if they want to get more information.
It's the Michigan Treasure Hunters, and it's through
The
Michigan.
post office box.
Well, we've got our website too.
Yeah, we can post it afterwards.
But-
That's
you
fine.
can
We'll
post-
get all that information.
Yeah,
from
and
you.
they can get it through MichiganTreasureHunters.com,
Okay.
on the internet. And we meet, like Dave said, the 4th Tuesday of the month at Faith Lutheran Church in Livonia, 1 block west of Middle Belt on 5 Mile Road, and at 7:30. I'm 11 months out of the year.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing about your treasure hunting hobby. You've got some really exciting stuff, and it's been really interesting to hear from both of you about what you do.
Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
And that's another episode of Exploring Hobbies. Please join us again next time.